All right. Yes, we're live. Cheers. Huzzah. Welcome to episode 13 of The Tavern. We're 13 episodes in. I need to do a count of how many viewers we've had up until this point. Up until the point that, hey, how are you? Hi. Hey, Bill, what's up? Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me. I was saying I need to do kind of a count of how many views we've had up until this point, up until today, lucky number 13. So I think it would be cool to see how many views we've had collectively between Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and even when I repost it to Bonfires, Castles, and Time Travel, and also my blog, Gothic Celt. So I am really excited with how the Tavern live streams have been going. I've had some really cool guests on, and today though I'm just kind of keeping it a little bit casual. I'm just because I think the first for the first half of July, there's not going to be a Tavern live stream on the first Friday of July. I'm taking a little break for a couple reasons. Number one, it's 4th of July here in the States. So I do live in America in the States. So it's going to be 4th of July weekend that weekend. And I'm going to be traveling a little bit. So I'm just not going to be able to just really sit down and do a live stream. I'll definitely get some video and things like that, and like put something together for my social media pages and blogs and websites. But I'm not sure if I am going to be, hey John, what's up? I'm just not sure if I'm going to be able to actually realistically be able to do an actual live stream. So as far as I know, there's not going to be a Tavern live stream on the first weekend of July. Like I said, it's July 4th. I'll be traveling a little bit, and it just probably wouldn't be very feasible, but I don't know, you never know, maybe I'll be able to come up with something. But as of right now, I'm actually gonna wait until it looks like the third weekend of July. That's July 15th. That's gonna be the next Tavern live stream. Like I said, I will be putting together video and all that stuff of my travels, but it's not going to, but probably not an actual live stream. So that's, a couple of the reasons why. Another reason is I do want to spend that first half of the month making the preparations for the release of my new single Lullaby, which I'm really happy about. I'm going to get into that in a little bit more of it. And also my new podcast, The Hidden Library. So I'm going to be just trying to make final preparations on those. And that's where I would really like a lot of my focus to be. So, but like I said, that doesn't mean I'm not going to be making other videos. But I just wanted to make that little announcement there. And also, and my tavern setup here, I'm keeping it really simple tonight, just very chill, very laid back. I just have a couple of mythology candles here. One is the Alchemist, and I decided to have this one on my table set up this evening. Number one, because I haven't had it on my table set up in a while. And number two, it's the Alchemist. And I'm doing, there's a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of new things and a lot of new projects brewing up. So I'm feeling very alchemist-y tonight. So, all right. And then on top of that, I do have the Tudor House Library. Again, this candle has made its numerous appearances on the Tavern live stream. And yeah, so the Tudor House Library, that's another one that I have. That's another candle by Mythology Candles. So, and I felt that would be appropriate because I'll be talking about a little bit today, telling you a little bit about my new podcast, The Hidden Library, and also my forthcoming album. My monstrous undertaking is on based off of events of Tudor England, so it's all appropriate. Okay, so all right, so also yeah, speaking of mythology candles, I ordered a few more candles from them for my tavern setup, and you know, they just released a new candle line called Celtic Lore and Celtic Folklore, and I got their sample pack plus a limited edition candle that I think they're only giving, I don't know if they're only giving it to their early birds or not, but it's a secret 7th limited edition candle. Plus, since I spend enough money to get a free little tea light candle, that one's going to be a surprise too. So I'll definitely be doing an unboxing of that when it comes in. And also, I have in my 18th century inspired mug by my friend in Living History, Michael, my Living History. Yeah, Flaherty. For a second, I'm just like, yeah, my poor little brain's just like, I have so much stuff going on. But yes, he makes these wonderful, wonderful mugs, and I'm drinking Gryphon tea, and it's the Britsburgh blend. A little shout out to Britsburgh. They focus on British culture within the Pittsburgh area and British history within the Pittsburgh area too. So, and they were also one of the people, one of the groups involved with a recent online concert that I did, which is linked in, I was a part of it. I sung a couple of English pieces. It was a more classical style of singing, but that is still linked, I believe, in my bio if you want to check it out. So yes, but I'm drinking some Gryphon tea. I meant to bring the package over here and I didn't because I was in a little bit of a hurry to get it, to kind of get on here tonight and everything. But yeah, I'm drinking some Britsburgh tea, so cheers. Okay, what are you drinking this evening? And I also have water here. I'm kind of bawling over here. This is, this is my coffee over cardio tumbler that I got. So it sticks out like a sore thumb among the rest of it, but hey, it's all right. Anything goes here this evening. So, yeah, also on Bonfires, Castles, and Time Travel, my blog there, as well as my blog on Gothic Celt, my Gothic Celt blog on Celtic Nations magazine. I'm going to be posting an interview soon with my friend Andrea, and her Instagram is The Estate of Baron Hill. If you want to check it out, I'll also put it in the description in the replay. But yeah, I'm going to be posting an interview with her. She's a wonderful, wonderful graphic artist. And she also created a very, very beautiful music video for my single Lullaby, which will be released in July when the single's released too. So I look forward to showing you guys that. I watched the video because she sent it to me, and it's beautiful. I love it. It really, really captures the song itself. And I'll also be releasing a couple of previews of the song too in the coming weeks, also as well as the single cover as well. And also in the last episode, in episode 12, which you can watch the replay if you missed it, I interviewed the dark-eyed musician. Her name in real life is Regina, but she is an amazing Celtic musical artist, and I had the pleasure of listening to, after I did the interview with her, I had the pleasure of listening to her album, which is out right now, Illumina, and oh, let me tell you, I really look forward to reviewing it. So I will be reviewing it for, once again, my own blog, Bonfires, Castles, and Time Travel, and also my Gothic Celt blog on Celtic Nations magazine. So I am really looking forward to that, and I definitely encourage you to check out her album Illumina if you love Celtic music, especially with a sort of cinematic feel. Lord of the Rings, things like that, I definitely encourage you to check it out. So, also, I am going to be releasing a new installment of Once Upon a Moonlit Path. So I, definitely look forward to bringing you that new installment of my little serial fiction story. So, all right. So as for what I have coming up, as far as my Lullaby single goes, and then I will get into what you can expect from my podcast. All this is coming up in July, so it's happening upon us. And so my Lullaby single, it's obviously, with the name of the title, it's going to be a song that's on like the softer, slower side. But it's going to be also included in the docudrama Lily's Cry. And Lily's Cry, it's a docudrama that's being put out by Ghost Walk Films. And I've been good friends with these guys from Ghost Walk Films for a good few years now. And we met at a film festival in Ohio a few years ago. And a couple of my songs have already been featured in it was one of their films called The Farm. And so The Farm, it's an award-winning film. It was very successful at many film festivals, and I was really, really excited to be part of it. And they used my song Ghost in their film The Farm. And then I am going to be in their next film. I have like a small part in their next film, Estella's Revenge, that they're working on. They're in post-production for that, so I'll definitely keep you posted there as to when that comes out. And now Lily's Cry, which the song Lullaby is going to be featured on, they're currently working on it. It's in production. They plan to release it next year in I think it's the spring of 2022. Yeah, Rocky, if you're watching this and I got that wrong, please correct me in the comments. But I believe it's spring of 2022 when it's to be released. They're working really hard on completing this, and it's actually a docudrama about a ghost girl. And this ghost girl, she's the spirit of somebody who actually lived and had a rather tragic life. And so, I believe Rocky Rocky has seen this girl throughout various stages of his life, and just set out on a mission to get to the bottom of who she was, and what became of her. And I'm really, really honored to have my song Lullaby featured in this, and they did give me permission to, they told me it was okay if I released the song prior to the release of the film. However, as long as I talk about Lily's Cry and promote it, which of course, I'm going to, because I'm really excited to see it come out. And so the song itself, it's really interesting because I wrote it before I even knew about the film Lily's Cry. And, it was just one of those songs that I tried to capture childhood almost. And actually the lyrics of the song itself are inspired by Hans Christian Andersen's stories, The Little Mermaid and The Match Girl. And of course, these aren't the Disney versions. As you can imagine, a lot of these original fairy tales are, whether we're talking about the Brothers Grimm or an original piece of folklore that has its origins in, its origins in ancient Ireland, or, ancient China, or, just, any piece of lore. they're usually, if you read the original text and compare it to, say, maybe like a Disneyized movie version, it's definitely been watered down. But and this, a lot of people think, like, when I say The Little Mermaid, like, oh, the happy Disney version. It's like, no, this version is definitely a bit darker than that. And the Match Girl is actually it's kind of one of those happy, one of those stories with, it's like it's a sad but happy ending. And so I was very taken by a lot of those stories. I did read a lot of the Brothers Grimm when I was growing up. And, and Hans Christian Andersen, I later on was introduced to as well. And I was always very taken by those stories. And, so I wanted to kind of capture the essence of some of the original stories that Hans Christian Andersen wrote, as well as capture, just kind of capture the whole, like, the innocence of childhood. So it's kind of a mix of darkness with some innocence in there as well. And it seems like, based on what I've been told of Lily, this ghost girl, I just, when I was approached to contribute a song for the film, I was like, I have this song Lullaby that I think might be appropriate, because it has when I wrote it to have that mix of darkness with some of childhood innocence, and I sent it to them. They listened. They apparently liked it enough to want to put it in the film. So now I'm very, very happy to be releasing that song in July, and I'll definitely be talking more about Lily's Cry, especially as I'm told of future developments there. So I'm really excited about it, and I look forward to giving you some just a little preview of the song. So, all right, so just take a sip of my tea here. And, all right, so now on to my other monstrous project, as if writing an album on Tudor England wasn't enough. Writing about, writing up a new podcast. So what my podcast is about, this has been a long time coming. I have been wanting to do like an audio podcast. I love doing this live stream thing, and interacting with you all, but I really like doing, I've loved the idea of doing more of like an audio podcast. And perhaps like this is due to the fact that, my grandfather was a radio disc jockey. He was, he was a musician, very, very talented musician, was self-taught, played several different instruments, sang, was a songwriter, and he had a very, very successful like country bluegrass band back in like the 1950s, and that is how he met. He put that band together after, because he served in World War II. So after he came back from the war, and that's how he met my grandmother too. My grandmother actually went with, she was a musician too, and she was more classically trained, whereas my grandfather was more, like I said, he was self-taught. He wasn't, he a brilliant player, but he wasn't like classically trained in the formal sense, whereas my grandmother was classically trained. She went to school for music, and she actually was gave music lessons for a good while. But it wasn't her big passion. It was more like, she was the first generation from her family. Because she came from Eastern Europe. Well, her family came from. She didn't. She was born here in the States, but her family came from Eastern Europe, and they actually were first generation here, and they were determined to have her they're my great grandmother's kids, my uncle and my great uncle, great aunt, and my grandmother, like, you'll be the first kids in our family to go to college and do like A, B, and C. So so they were very, very much encouraging my grandmother, and especially my grandmother, since she was actually born here in the States, to go to college and go to music school, and because they were a very musical family, and they wanted her to really expand her education, and but I mean, it wasn't her big passion, but she did it because it was her, her family. I mean, she enjoyed it, but it was more like what her family wanted her to do. But that's how she met my grandfather, and she played in my grandfather's band for a while, and eventually they settled down. And my grandfather, I just remember growing up, and he was quite popular, especially in his region. And I remember, just hearing him on the radio and growing up, and he actually took me on a little tour to his radio station. I think he tried to retire twice, and they wouldn't let him. And that had a huge impact on me. And I think I've always just loved the idea of just doing some sort of like audio type of radio show or podcast now, because now everything, it's all on the internet and everything. But like I decided, like I said, it's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to do it. Like I said, very, very influenced by my grandfather, definitely musically, as well as his radio personality talents. But I never really knew what direction I wanted to go in with it, and I mean, I would have these ideas, but I was just like, is this really like what I want to spend my time like planning out and doing, and then editing the episodes, and and then last year during quarantine, I thought, okay, well, maybe I could get something started there. But then I started doing these live streams, and I actually liked the idea of doing these interactive live streams better. But then it's just like, the idea of a audio podcast, remained in the back of my mind. But I was just always wanting to do one. But like I said, just never really knew what direction I really wanted to go in with it. And then one day it hit me. I was, because I read a lot. I've shown you a lot of my my book hauls and everything, and I was like wanting to write a review on, I'll show you the book in just a minute. It'll be the first book that I am doing for the podcast, for the premiere episode of The Hidden Library. And I was just like, wouldn't it be cool to maybe just like for the Bonfires and Castles and Time Travel website to do maybe just like audio book reviews instead of, writing them, instead of like manually writing them. I was like, that would be kind of cool if I did the book reviews just kind of like an audio form. And I was just like, why not have that be my podcast? Just because I read so much really interesting books, some fiction, some nonfiction. I try to make it a point to read one fiction and one nonfiction book simultaneously. I don't always manage to do that, but I do try. And I was just like, why not do that? And I could talk about both fiction and nonfiction. A lot of the books are going to be based in history. some fantasy themes, some gothic horror, and I'll show you just some examples here in just a moment. But you know, it's not going to be, because I know I also have a lot of friends that write in the just straight up horror, you know, realm too. I'm probably not gonna, unfortunately, just because, you know, I want to stick to like a certain theme of like historical fantasy and, you know, just all that. Although at around Halloween time, I might step outside the box, and maybe talk about a couple books that are maybe more like horror oriented. So yeah, maybe Halloween time, like I said, I'll step outside the box there. Because I do have a couple of friends that write within the horror genre that might not be, their books might not be appropriate for like a normal hidden library podcast, but Halloween time, hey, anything goes. So, you know, you might, you know, like I said, I might step outside the box for that one a little bit. You know, just because they do write, you know, these people, they do write some really great books, and, you know, somebody out there might enjoy them. But yeah, but I'll show you here, because I have these books here, some of the ones that I will be, yeah, I'd love to also know what you're doing for summer reading as well. So, all right, so this is going to be discussed on the premiere podcast episode of the Hidden Library. Here, I'll just show that here really quick. Okay, just so you can get a better look at it. It's by Sarah A. Krisman, and it's called Victorian Secrets, What a Corset Taught Me About the Past, the Present, and Myself. So, those of you that have seen past episodes of the Tavern live stream, and maybe even have seen me talk and post, know that when it comes to the pro-corset or anti-corset camps and everything, I tend to fall into the pro-corset camp. I love corsetry. I think it's absolutely, I mean, you know, in many ways, I mean, it's an art form. And I enjoy wearing stays and corsets when I wear my period clothing. I might have to get used to them again because, you know, especially with the lack of living history events going on over the last year, I haven't really had much of an opportunity to really wear them. But, you know, definitely, like, once I, you know, kind of get used to them again, you know, and here's the thing, like, there was a time when I was wearing them so much that, I mean, just because I had like one living history event after another, that it got to a point where I barely even knew it was there. Like it became that, you know, that comfortable for me. And the thing is, it's like, and I've said this before, if your corset feels very, very uncomfortable, if it's either, it could be, you know, one of a couple things. Either it's brand new and it hasn't really had much time to really mold to your body, or you just haven't worn it enough and it hasn't had much time to really mold to your body, kind of like a new pair of shoes, or, you know, new pair of jeans or something. That could be the case. It could just be not made for you. And that's the thing with corsets and stays. I mean, it's more pricey, but I do recommend having them tailor-made for you, because when you have them tailor-made for you, it's not just, oh, they're taking general measurements of somebody who may be similar to your size, because that's a big thing too. Having them tailor-made for you that's big. You know, like I said, it might be a little more pricey, but that'll probably save you a whole headache down the road of having a corset or a pair of stays that might be, you know, less than comfortable, because they're supposed to be comfortable, believe it or not. Of course, you know, even back in the day, there were all, you know, there were extremists and everything that did, you know, go for that whole super, super, super small look. But there's people today that do that too. So about this book, I'll give you just like a little bit of just like a little bit of a background of what to expect on the first episode. So basically, this is a true story. This is Sarah Chrisman's own experience, okay, about discovering positive selfhood from a woman who moved beyond stereotypes to explore the world of corsetry firsthand. So she actually received, just kind of like a little bit of a background, she received a corset for the first time as a birthday present from her husband. And at first, like, she was just kind of like to him, like, why would you get this for me? You know, I don't like this, because she, you know, she kind of, you know, abided by the whole, you know, they're constricting, they're degrading, they're this, that, and the other. And she used to, you know, before she hopped on this little adventure of now, like, she and her husband, they pretty much wear clothing from the late Victorian era and early Edwardian eras on a regular basis. Like, that's their style of dress. And it's really, really interesting. When I was reading this book, it was really, really interesting seeing her, like, just go from somebody who had, you know, and she'll even tell you in this book, like, had no confidence at all. You know, she would hide in baggy clothes, and, you know, and she just would, you know, basically, like, try to make herself invisible from the world. But it was when her husband got her that corset for a present, and she first started experimenting with it. And of course, like, it wasn't comfortable for her right off the bat. She had to, once again, you know, kind of get used to it. But once she started that and she got used to wearing the corset, and she discovered that her back actually started to feel better in wearing it, and she was actually able to do daily activities just fine in it after a while, including clean in it. She started to come out of her shell more. And, you know, and she would, you know, and she gradually kind of became a more advanced corset wearer, I guess you could say. But she came out of her shell, and she kind of found herself in doing this. And, you know, she started to really fall in love with the whole Victorian aesthetic and the Victorian, you know, just their style of dress. So she started incorporating even more styles of dress, like from like the, you know, their heeled shoes to like the smaller heel, not the spike, you know, they didn't have the spike heel, but like the smaller heel, you know, as well as, you know, like, you know, a flowy skirt, not, you know, not the hoop skirt, but just more of like a flow, you know, kind of like a beautiful flowy skirt. And then she started to really evolve her look from there. And she, you know, and she just really, like I said, came out of her shell and kind of found herself through wearing a corset. And it was really, really fascinating just reading her experience. The positive reactions she got from people, but also the negative reactions she got from people. And, you know, and how people would just blatantly come up and accuse her of, you know, taking women back, you know, 100 years, which I think that's absurd, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, she was out there just kind of living her life and just doing her thing. And it's almost like, because I was reading about like some of these people who would just blatantly come up to her and like point accusing fingers, and, you know, and I'm just kind of like, it's like, who are you? You know, like, why do you care if somebody's, you know, wearing something that they enjoy and not hurting anybody doing it? You know, and they're obviously feeling empowered wearing this. It's almost like go away, like mind your own business, you know. But at the same time, it's like, you know, kind of like when I had Eliza Vince on a couple of episodes ago, and she made a very, very good point, and I've repeated this several times since then, saying that history is taught wrong. And it really is. It's the way it's taught. Like, it just doesn't sound appealing at all. And, you know, and it's also kind of disturbing how even in some areas of the education system, it's almost like they get a lot of things wrong, you know, or the way they present it just doesn't make it sound appealing for somebody to maybe dig a little deeper and, you know, maybe come up with some, their own take on it, or maybe discover that, you know, hey, maybe these corsets weren't all that bad, or at least not as bad as, you know, people make them out to be. And, you know, many of these corsets were actually made for women by women, you know, and I'll get into that a little bit more in the first episode, but yeah, I decided that this would be, because I've been wanting to review this book for a while now, and like I said, I first originally had the idea to do it with, you know, like just kind of an audio format on bonfires, castles, and time travel, and then I just was like, you know what, why don't I make that my podcast? You know, hey, what up, you know, but yeah, but this book, like I said, I figured why not make this the premiere episode, you know, with me very fervently defending corsets, and I will defend them. So, yes. All right, so that's going to be episode 1. All right, I'm really excited. I'm excited to bring it to you. It's going to be released I plan to have it the week after I release the Lullaby single. But I am going to show you also just what to expect, a couple of the other books that I plan to discuss. So, let's see. Oh, yes. So like I said, I will also be doing some like gothic fiction, gothic horror, gothic fiction as well. And I have such a long history with Phantom of the Opera. So both musically and reading it. As you know, as a singer, Andrew Lloyd Webber was a big part of my repertoire. So was the Yeston Kopit version of Phantom too. Home and You Are Music from that version of Phantom is absolutely beautiful. I have sung the role of Christine before in different Andrew Lloyd Webber concerts, and Phantom, and also like cabarets and things like that. So I have a very long history with Phantom. I've seen it on Broadway a couple times too. So yeah, but I am going to be discussing the original Gaston Leroux novel. All right, which he wrote in the early part of the 20th century. And it was actually I believe it was originally published as like a serial story in like popular magazines, newspapers, things like that. And it takes place obviously in an opera house that's inspired by the Paris Opera. And the Paris Opera House, and it's quite. I love it. I love this. I love the original novel, and also there was kind of a prequel written to Phantom of the Opera, and this is supposed to be basically the Phantom's life prior to Phantom of the Opera, okay? And it's actually, it gives you some insight into the Phantom and his life, and it's written by a woman called Susan Kay, and she actually, just kind of took bits and pieces of what she knew of the Phantoms, or Eric. His name was actually, the Phantom had a name. His name was Eric. And just his life, like what Gaston Leroux shared in his own novel, and Susan Kay wrote it, just took it and wrote you know, the Phantom story, basically. And I'm going to be talking a little about this too. I might do like a 2 or 3 part episode of Phantom of the Opera when I get to that in the Hidden Library. But yeah, this the Gaston Leroux novel, it's absolute classic. And I recently picked this up too. It's the Phantom of the Opera, The Lost Chapter, and it's translated with commentary by Caitlin G. Freeman. So basically, this is actually, it's a lost chapter that, you know, was published and didn't make it into the actual novel when it went from being in serial form to novel form. And so this text of, it's called the chapter is called The Magic Envelope. And it's been translated, according to the back of this, it's been translated into English so that fans of the Phantom of the Opera can read this forgotten gem. This chapter provides explanations for several enigmas that have puzzled readers since Leroux's first edition, and it offers a fascinating glimpse into the writing process of one of France's literary icons. So, yeah, so like I said, I'm probably going to do a 3-part series of the Hidden Library for Phantom of the Opera. First discussing the Gaston Leroux novel and what actually, which is interesting, what actually inspired Gaston Leroux to write this novel in the first place. And it's, oh my gosh, really cool, really creepy. And then the prequel, the Susan Kay prequel, and then maybe finish it off with another episode on Phantom of the Opera, The Lost Chapter, The Magic Envelope. So, boy, am I excited to get this started. Okay, and then also, I picked this book up while in Gettysburg, my most recent trip to Gettysburg back in September. The Shriver story, Eyewitnesses to the Battle of Gettysburg. You can actually even visit the Shriver house in Gettysburg, and sorry, my air conditioning had to kick on. And then also, of course, I showed you this George Boleyn, you know, so hey, thanks for joining. So the George Boleyn story, he was the brother of Anne Boleyn, who was the second wife of King Henry VIII. Okay, and then also I do have these, oh yeah, in this book, they're all written by the same person. So it's Claire Ridgway. Like I said, I've raved about her work before. If you haven't checked her out, go check out her YouTube channel, The Anne Boleyn Files, okay? So the Anne Boleyn collection, okay? These books are awesome. I will be discussing them, as well as just some of what's influencing me to write my album on Tudor England. And this is another book I picked up in Gettysburg. I might save this for maybe closer to Halloween. But it's Gettysburg Haunted Address, The Spirits of Farnsworth House Inn. So if you've never been to the Farnsworth House, I very much recommend going and visiting it. Also, I mentioned The Mists of Avalon before. So this is definitely, it's I've mentioned this before, it's the King Arthur stories based on, you know, basically told from the perspective of the female characters. And also this other book, Tea in 18th Century America by Kimberly K. Walters. She actually, she goes by Sign of a Gray Horse. She also makes beautiful jewelry. She has a great passion for rescuing horses, and she wrote this Tea in 18th Century America. So, and I plan to use this to even do some of my own presentations in some new ventures that I'm doing for Living History. And I'm also going to review A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. I'm going to be discussing this because looking forward to the podcast. Thanks, Bill. Awesome. So yeah, I look forward to doing it too. So Farewell to Arms. I love this book, and I might get some pushback on this. I don't know, but I'm personally tired of Ernest Hemingway being dragged through the mud for this book. Like, he was just this horrible, horrible person who just hated women, and that's why he wrote this book. Yeah, that's what I have to say to that. So, and not only will I be talking about A Farewell to Arms in a future episode of the Hidden Library as well, you know, just kind of summarizing the story, but also going through why Hemingway wrote the story and who the characters were based off of. Because I think that is sorely lacking when people review this book and rake Hemingway across the coals for it. And I don't take very kindly to just misinformation and all that stuff. And I'm not, you know, obviously I'm not perfect, but I at least try to, you know, kind of know what I'm talking about. You know, I at least try to, you know, have integrity in the information that I put out there. And if I happen to be wrong, you know what, I have no, I'll backtrack and say, hey, you know, here's where I might have gotten this wrong. You know, so maybe my view changed a little bit on it. But like, yeah, I just don't like the lack of integrity in a lot of the reviews that, you know, I'm not a fan. And I'm also going to get into, because the character of Catherine Barkley actually takes a lot of heat too, saying that, oh, she's like a weak, wimpy character. I beg to differ. I actually think she is a very strong female character, and I will explain why when I review A Farewell to Arms for the Hidden Library podcast. Because, and I'll get into a little bit of why too right now, just because I'm a little bit heated. but I get a little tired of how we tend to just compartmentalize things, especially when it seems to come to what we think strength is, or what we think, you know, just me as a female, I will say, you know, just coming from a woman's perspective, what a strong female character is. And we seem to have this, and I don't know, and like I said, if you disagree with me, if maybe I'm missing something, you know, I'm free to, you know, I'm open to hearing what you have to say. You know, please definitely comment, you know, with your thoughts, and, you know, I'll definitely take it into consideration. But we just seem to, it's based on just reviews I've read of certain pieces of work, just based on just even conversations I've had with some people, both online and in person. It's like we seem to think that if a female character is not, you know, very effortlessly beating up dudes that are maybe 4 times her size, or, you know, just, you know, walking around not needing anybody, not needing her best friend, not needing her, you know, her partner, boyfriend, whatever, then, oh, if she's not doing either one of those two things, if she's not, like, somehow, like, running the world with nobody to answer to, you know, and like I said, not able to, like, beat up dudes or whatever, 400, or just people in general, like 400 times her size, or 4 times her size, you know, 400, maybe, who knows, maybe 400 times her size, then she's not strong. If she shows one bit of emotion in a story, oh, she's not strong. It's like really? I mean, everybody has emotion. It's human to have emotion. And you grow, you become stronger through what gives you those emotions, whether it's positive, negative, whatever, you know. So I don't know, that's my that's kind of my little soapbox. It was something I was thinking about, because I was also doing some research, more research on the Tudors, and I came across this video on Jane Seymour, who was Henry VIII's third wife. Now, I'll say I'm not a huge Jane Seymour fan. I think out of all of Henry VIII's wives, it's just, I don't know, she's just like the least, I guess the least interesting. And I don't know, to be fair, I guess, you know, after what happened to Anne Boleyn, I think she did kind of had to, like, if she was a woman who had opinions, she definitely had to tone it down a bit. So, you know, because Henry actually did kind of, you know, because people are always like, oh, Jane Seymour was the one that he loved the best. It's just like, well, no, he actually did kind of threaten her if she, you know, stood up to him again, which she did try to one time. But I was going through, but I was reading some of the comments, like, under the video, and they were saying, and people were saying, well, you know, after, you know, Henry was married to, like, two very powerful and strong women, Catherine of Aragon and Anne Boleyn, he wanted, you know, a wife who was just going to just kind of go along with everything, you know, he did, and not, you know, clap back the way Catherine of Aragon and Anne Boleyn did. Now, Catherine of Aragon didn't really clap back the way Anne Boleyn did, because, you know, Anne Boleyn's my favorite. Her and Catherine Parr. I do like Catherine Parr too, but you know, but Catherine of Aragon, I mean, she had her own way of, you know, influencing Henry, and, you know, and doing things the way she did. And I think Catherine of Aragon and Anne Boleyn, they were both, like, just really, I agree that they were both really strong and powerful. So is Catherine Parr, you know. I mean, even though, you know, Catherine Parr, she just went about it differently than Anne Boleyn and Catherine of Aragon. And then I saw another person kind of reply to that comment saying, well, Anne Boleyn and Catherine of Aragon actually weren't very strong and powerful because they still had to answer to Henry. And I was just like, just because they still might have had to answer to the king, that doesn't mean that they weren't still strong, powerful, and influential and in their own right. You know, and even the king has to answer to somebody. You know, the king for a while had to answer to the Pope, you know, and, you know, until, of course, Henry broke with the Roman Catholic Church. But everybody, even if you're a monarch, even if you're a king, you're still answering to people. Does that mean you're not powerful? Does that mean you're not a strong leader? No. But I don't know, we just seem to have this whole compartmentalization of how we view strong, and especially of how we view somebody, if someone's a strong woman or a strong female character or not. So that's what I'm going to get into about Catherine Barclay also when I do the A Farewell to Arms episode. So yeah, so that's my little rant, that's my little soapbox for the evening. Not, like I said, I'll get into more of that as I review these books and everything. But thank you for joining me. Cheers. I look forward to bringing you everything this summer. It's really exciting. I'm, just kind of getting the single out. I am finally, I found a direction for my podcast, which I'm really excited about. And, just kind of, also writing songs for my Tudor album, my Tudor themed album. And I swear, be bringing you the Parting Glass EP. I have been pulling my hair out over that, but it is coming. So, all right. So, like I said, this is just kind of like a chill episode, me just telling you about what I've got going on and what I will have going on. And I really hope that you have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful, blessed weekend, blessed summer solstice. All right. Cheers. All right. Raise your glass to the beginning of summer, and I'll see you again in the tavern on July 15th. So maybe I'll have a guest. I haven't decided whether I'm going to have a guest at that time or not, but or if it'll just be me just hanging out with you again. So, all right. So, cheers, huzzah, and I will see you in the next tavern episode in later July. All right. Final drink. All right. Have a lovely night and have a beautiful summer solstice.